everyone. We're talking about the work environment, different types of work environments, positives, negatives. I wanted to bring up the last place of employment that I was at. Basically, their corporate culture was to keep moving forward with business and innovation. They definitely stuck to that pretty well overall. They would send out different things that we would be working on from the company. They would send to different stores to show the customers, hey, here's what we're working on. And here's what y'all should look forward to as customers. And so they stuck to that pretty well. Some of the negatives were they moved around managers a lot, and sales personnel. I was not in sales personnel. I was in operations for a specific location. But I could definitely tell it was negative for both myself and the sales personnel, and that consistency just wasn't there. So I would definitely stop moving around the managers if I could. And it always reflected in the numbers. If the manager worked well with the different location, then I would probably stick that manager there and let them stay there. And another negative to me was there was a lot of personnel that said that they just weren't appreciated. And I could definitely see that they weren't being really appreciated. Their pay structure changed all the time, and a lot of them felt that corporate was just doing that for their benefit, so that they could get paid more. And I could definitely see that as well, unfortunately, just because I could see the numbers changing and they just weren't really feeling appreciated. So it was definitely a negative for the work environment. It was definitely a negative for a very long time until we got a really, really good manager in there. And unfortunately, I don't think that manager is there anymore because they like to move around a lot. And it definitely wasn't their choice. Corporate definitely moved them around a lot. Some of the motivators were mainly monetary for sales personnel because it is sales. So there was bonuses. There would be the occasional, vacation day or weekend off. And a lot of the brand masters would receive a phone paid for by the company. So if they were an Apple master, they would receive a free Apple device, but they would have to give that phone back if they ever left the company. So a lot of these worked. A lot of the brand masters worked. But some of it was a negative motivator because like I said, their pay structure would change a lot. So it was very hard to reach that top goal sometimes, and still feel like they're being appreciated and paid what they're supposed to be getting paid. And some things I would change within the company would definitely be their pay structure changing constantly. I would try to stop that as much as I could to feel like they're being appreciated, to try to get that consistency back in there. So I would change that. I would also change the dismissive communication. I felt like there wasn't a lot of communication coming from, the upper level of the company, CEO, CFO, as well as they pretty much would communicate with the managers, but the managers, it would stop with the managers. They would never communicate with the sales personnel. And even with operations, they wouldn't communicate with me a lot as well. So I would try to change that. They need to know why their pay structure is changing. They need to know why the managers keep moving different locations. It helps them understand what they're doing there. Another thing I would change would be the constant monitoring of the sales personnel. I know whenever I was in sales, I didn't like when my manager was unnecessarily just monitoring me. It honestly made me feel like I was being watched just for no reason. I was meeting my goal. I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing, and I was exceeding my goal even, and they would still, catch me of what I was doing wrong. And that just made me feel like whatever I did wasn't good enough. So I didn't appreciate that. And so I know our sales personnel at my last company didn't appreciate that. And they told me a lot of the times that they're just being monitored too much and they're meeting their goals. There's no reason for that. And I definitely agree with them. So I try to change that as well. It's either necessary or it's not. So the last thing I would change is the changing of managers. They definitely need that consistency, and I know I needed that consistency, and it helped me do a better job. And every time we would get a good manager, they would have to be transferred out to a different location, and that was definitely negative on the work environment. It just created that sense of, oh, we don't know who our manager is, and that was negative for them. So those are just a few things I would change, but that was the corporate culture, some negatives, some positives, and just some things I would change for that work environment. You always want to create that positive work environment with communication, with anything that you can feel like you're being appreciated, that you're actually there for a reason, and that they appreciate your purpose. So